Everyone back again, and got a super cool story I wanted to share. It involves some of my favorite things, which is airplanes and economics. Weird, right? So I love aviation and airplanes ever since I was little. Let's see here. And just kind of an aviation nut, right? So basically, story came out that there was a paper released. I guess the Air Force is looking to change the way its procurement for future fighter aircraft. Okay, basically the way we have it structured now is we spend a ton of time and a ton of money developing a single platform that we're kind of stuck with for a super long time. F-35, for example, is just coming kind of online now. I used to live next to Luke Air Force Base here in Arizona, so I'd see them flying around all the time. Very cool plane, but it's extremely over budget. There's a lot of questions on its survivability and, is it really the right plane for now? I mean, F-35, as cool as it is, has a ton of detractors because it's just so bloated. It's so over budget. It's a plane for the Navy, the Marines, and Air Force all at once, and maybe that's never really worked in the past. And anyway, just tons of problems. But it's like, well, we invested so much time and money, and now we're just kind of stuck with this, and we're going to have to make do. The F-22, the Raptor, right? I think is 197 is all we made. Obama actually killed production during his presidency because, again, it was so over budget. They didn't, I guess, see the need, and that money could have been spent better elsewhere, like on F-35. But that plane is state-of-the-art, but was designed in, like, the 90s, right? It is, for being as futuristic as it is a very dated design because literally that plane was developed in like the 1990s, right? That's how long and it just came online in the past, but maybe 5 years or so. Like, that's how long it takes to develop and create aircraft now. So the Air Force's plan is basically kind of to pivot, right? To use the economic term, right? Or I guess fail fast, fail forward. Does that make sense? Instead of spending a ton of time just making one plane and, putting our eggs in that basket for the next 20, 30 years, the idea is we want to make a new plane every 5 years, right? How awesome is that if we would have new aircraft coming off the assembly? Again, I'm a plane guy. Every 5 years, right? So let's take the best technology we have on the shelf right now, okay, and challenge these contractors. You got 5 years to make, design, and fly a brand new airplane, okay? In small batches. We're not going to invest a ton. We're not going to tie ourselves to this plane. But 5 years, let's just make the best plane we can right now, and we'll make a small amount so we have them and we can use them. And then in another 5 years, we'll just update and do another plane with the best technologies we have then and use that. So every 5 years, we'll be getting a new plane with the best technologies we have, right? It's constantly pivoting to that way you can make planes that are better suited to the environment today, right? You get planes that are very specialized in their capability so they can perform better at their task. The F-35 literally has to do everything. And of course, it does nothing well. It's literally supposed to replace the A-10. That was part of it, right? A-10, F-35, totally different things. But the Air Force, that was the idea, right? F-35 is a tank buster? No, thank you. So we can make, maybe we need, there's a threat that, we need long-range capability, right? Well, we can make a plane for super long range missions, lots of fuel, long, high altitude, long flight time, whatever it is, for that 5 years. Maybe we need to make a plane that can just carry a lot of dumb ordnance, right? So we'll make like a bomb truck if that's, that would have been really good in Afghanistan, right? If we had something like that. Oh, like a B-1, like a B-52. So you can constantly, like I said, keep pivoting, okay, and making new planes for the times. And as the article mentions, I'll link the article here, of course, in comments. This is actually very similar to what the Air Force used to do, like back in the 50s and 60s, right? Like the Century series aircraft, like F-100, Super Sabre, 102, 105. So many planes that were made back then, because that's kind of the philosophy, I guess, the Air Force had, right? The problem is you had a lot of planes that were small improvements on the others, right? The changing capability was kind of incremental. None of these planes are really well remembered now because they just were constantly kind of being leapfrogged by others. By the time the plane came into service, some of them were already almost obsolete because technology was changing so quickly at that time, with development of jet engines, and supersonic flight, and missiles, and radar, and all those avionics and stuff like that. So you constantly had a bunch of new aircraft coming out, and each one was better than the last, but nothing really like game changing. And those planes are kind of like forgettable now. I mean, they're great planes, but not revolutionary really. That changed a bit, like in the late 60s and 70s, when the philosophy changed, and the idea was, we want a platform that's going to last a long time, super capable, built to last, and we're going to like invest in these planes and use them for a very, very long time. So that's where you get things like the F-15 and F-16 and F-18, for a while F-14, right? Those planes were literally like designed in the 70s, and we still use them now. These planes are like 40-year-old designs, but because they, these fourth generation planes, what they call them, because they were so well built, right, and so adaptable and so capable, we've been able to just keep them and just keep updating them with new software, new avionics, new weapon systems, and they've lasted for a long time, and very, very good planes because they were built, to do well and last. But you can only put so many flight hours on a frame. These planes are wearing out. You could keep them going and just keep updating them, but technology has changed so much lately with stealth and AESA radar, ASA, I'm not saying that right. But things have changed so much that those planes now are really showing their age, and as good as they are, and they're still great, the Air Force really needs to update its inventory, which is what the 22 and 35 are supposed to do. But those planes were just so bloated and so expensive, it was just too much money to invest and to get the numbers that we needed. So for a while, we just decided we're going to have to be stuck with those old planes that we had and get the most we can out of them, which is kind of where we're at now, right? Trying to keep those planes flying as long as we can while slowly introducing these big, expensive birds. But eventually, that's not going to be sustainable. And, those 15, 16, they're going to have to go. And so the F-35 was supposed to replace all of them. And for a lot of people, people just assumed that the 35 might be one of the last manned fighters we'd ever see, because the trend continues, and if we don't get another new plane in like 30 or 40 years, when the F-35 start wearing out, well, by then everything is going to be AI and drones and networked, and so you won't see any more manned fighter planes, and that's where we thought we were. However, if the Air Force implements this new plan, going to be very different, and we're actually going to be getting new planes, like I said, every couple years, right, with the best technologies we have. So these planes are going to be very up to date, okay? They're going to be very, very capable, very mission specific, focused on one job and do it very, very well. You're going to have a more diverse aircraft inventory, right? So more mission capable. Good idea. A good idea would be, hey, let's do an updated A-10. We could do that now, right? Retire those old ones because they're hanging on by a thread, and instead of shoehorning the F-35 into a tank busting role, let's do an updated version of the 8. That would be really cool. See, I'm geeking out on this. But again, that's economic theory, right? You want, when you're developing a new business idea, ideally you want to be flexible. Okay, you want to be adaptable when you're, testing your marketing or bringing new products to the store shelves. You want to be able to react to, your customers' needs in the changing market. So you have to be able to kind of, again, pivot and go with the flow. If you just stay the course and refuse to change and just dig in your heels on your business model or your product, whatever, the market may leave you behind and then you won't be around. Blockbuster is a great example. I don't even got to explain it because you know what happened to Blockbuster, right? It's kind of where the Air Force is now. F-35 is maybe our version of rent. This is a weird analogy. But, maybe instead of staying with that, we become more flexible, more adaptable, and that keeps a lot more competition between the contractors, right? So they, you could see huge it might actually spur advancement in technology if every 5 years we're kind of, they're given a chance to, wow and impress and really push the envelope to win these contracts. And you could see, huge leaps, again, in advancement in these planes because every 5 years we're kind of hitting that reset button and kind of starting over from scratch, right? Awesome idea, and it could save a lot of money because, again, we don't got to buy a ton of planes to do everything at once. Small batches, 5 years was the thing. You got 5 years to make and design a plane, but with all the advancements, again, in 3D engineering and design and AI, that's very, very possible now. I think Boeing developed a new trainer, the article I'd mentioned, within like 3 years, right? Which is crazy considering how long the 22 and 35 trainer is a little different than a modern day fighter, but still, like it's quite possible. And also that would really put the screws to kind of our adversaries, right? How are China and Russia? How are they supposed to respond when the United States is constantly adding new capabilities to its Air Force, right? And we can design these planes specifically to meet these new threats that they're posing. Oh, that's a new, J-20, the Chinese stealth fighter. It's not, whatever. Hey, that's really cool. Well, now we got a counter to that. So what are you going to do now? A little bit of one-upsmanship maybe, but I'm just jacked. I'm excited because that'd be really, really cool to see. Again, as an aviation guy, airplane nut, see new planes rolling off the line every 5 years, right? And if it's cheaper and they're more capable, it's a win-win-win. It's a totally different way of thinking about, like I said, weapons development, but it's a more business sound way. It's a more economically feasible way than what we're doing now, where we're, like I said, we're tied to a platform. So if it goes over budget, we're screwed. We don't have any backup plans. We'll just keep shoveling money into this program and trying to make it work. And now again, it's like, you know what? This thing is a turkey. It doesn't work. We'll just, move along and try something new, right? A lot more flexible Air Force, which is awesome. Anyway, like I said, I was super excited. It brought a smile to my face, as you could see. I don't think I've ever been happier on a video so far, but super, super cool. So, okay, I'm rambling like I do, and I got stuff to do. I know you do too, so I'll link the article. You want to check it out. It's a quick read. Very cool, though, and cross your fingers. This would be a great idea, and I'd love to see the Air Force be a little progressive when it comes to airplane procurement. So, hey, who knows? Whatever. All right, catch you later.